Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. It is Q&A Tuesday. Are you ready? I am totally ready. Now, if you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. I've been a medical coder for over 10 years. I really like sharing the things that I know with all of you. So I hope you'll take a second, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and at the end of this video helps you, I hope you'll share it. Okay, so let's get started. Huge shout out to everybody who sent in a question. Thank you guys so much. Now, I take all the questions that I get from Instagram, from video comments, from emails, and I put them all into one episode. So here we go. Number one, I have a degree in chemistry and I self-taught myself medical coding. I am about to take my certification exam. Will this make it harder for me to find a job? In the sense that you have a degree that is not typically medical, no, that has no bearing on your ability to get hired. On the fact that you self-taught yourself and you got your credential once you pass it, no, again, it doesn't have any bearing because when you are credentialed, that is what employers are looking for. Sometimes they do ask you if you did have like medical terminology and anatomy and physiology, but if you've done that class before, they'll ask you, but it doesn't really, it's not going to be a huge factor that you self-taught. Yourself medical coding. Really all they want is the fact that are you certified? That is really what they're looking for. Okay. So next question. So I enrolled in the CCS online program. And if you don't know, CCS stands for the Certified Coding Specialist, and that is offered with the American Health Information Management Association. They told me I will be getting one-on-one time with a teacher and told me to do the anatomy and physiology chapter 1 to 19 and tell them when I am finished. So I'm going through this by myself and it seems almost impossible for me to teach myself this stuff. I'm feeling like I just don't get it. How was anatomy and physiology for you when you first started? Are these questions going to be on the CCS test? So here's the thing. This sounds like it is a trade school online, and the thing is different schools have different ways of teaching things. This one, they're obviously telling the person that they need to read and go over chapters 1 through 19. That's a lot of chapters obviously to go through by yourself. The thing about medical terminology, anatomy, and physiology is this is a different language that you are having to learn. Okay, that is first of all. And the reason that it is so important to start out with this is because this is your foundational knowledge. You can't really start learning how to medical code unless you understand the body, the disease process, and medical terminology. Otherwise, you're not going to understand what you're reading, okay? Because many different words are used to describe many different conditions. So this is why we have to have this base foundational knowledge, okay? As far as like how it was for me when I started, I knew that there was going to be things that I was going to have to learn. This is not a small feat, okay? It's going to take some time. It is going to take some patience on your part. And when I started, I'm a very studious person, and I have been this way since I was a kid. I wanted to be an attorney when I was a child, and I had spent my entire youth reading and writing because that was what I knew attorneys needed to have. They needed to have like strong writing skills and strong reading skills. And I knew that that was something that I had to have. Well, that helped me, right? Once I started learning to become a medical coder because I knew I had to study. And because of this, that made it a lot easier for me. Did I know going in that I was going to learn things? Of course, I don't know everything. And that's the sort of attitude you should have, that this is going to be something that is new for you and that it is going to take some time and consistency to learn this stuff. You're not going to learn it overnight and you're not going to know everything right away. I'm 10 plus years in and I'm still learning. I'm still learning about disease processes. I'm still learning about certain medical terminology words that I've never heard of. If you look at any medical dictionary, you will see that there is a plethora of medical terminology out there. And you may or may not be exposed to all of it in your career. But you have to just be consistent with your study schedule. I have done a video before about tips to learn medical terminology and anatomy and using flashcards and how important it is to do those things. So yes, while you may feel overwhelmed in the beginning, don't let it deter you from still continuing to push forward and learn. It is just going to be one foot in front of the other process, and you just have to keep going when it comes to, you know, studying these things. You can look on YouTube. YouTube does have a lot of videos about study tips for anatomy, physiology, and medical terminology. There's a ton of them out there, guys. And people have lots of ways of like trying to remember and their tips and their tricks. So you can check those out. I mean, see if that will help you. I've always been a strong advocate for flashcards, and people fight me on these flashcards every time. Every time I mention the flashcards, I always get emails. Blue, why the flashcards? I don't want to do flashcards. If you don't want to do flashcards, you don't have to. You don't have to take my advice, but this advice is coming from somebody who is genuine, which I am. I've been there, done that, got a t-shirt. And the reason that I tell you guys to do the flashcards, like physically write them out, is because when you connect your body doing a action with your brain, you're able to retain information a lot easier. Now, if you've never tried to do flashcards, give it a try. It's not going to hurt nobody, okay? If you do this, though, what is the end result? That you can learn something? You're already trying to learn something, so this may make the process a little bit easier for you. So I'm just giving you a suggestion. Write out some flashcards. Take the time to look up things that you don't quite understand. Know your prefixes, suffixes, and root words. That is my biggest tip about medical terminology, because knowing that is going to help you to put the clues together so that you can learn the words faster. I'm just saying, okay? So, next question. Oh, I just listened to one of your videos, and I noticed that you say many times that you don't need to be certified to be a medical biller. My question is, how would I know what to do if I've never studied for it? With medical billing, okay, and I thought I was pretty clear in the video, but let me make sure that I say it again. The reason that I say that you do not have to be certified to be a medical biller is because a lot of times medical billing companies will give you training, okay? Now, medical billing and medical coding is two separate things. Medical billers are basically processing paperwork. This is why there's no certification that's required for that. Now, when I'm talking about certifications, I'm talking about AHIMA and AAPC credentials. If you are looking to get into the medical coding field, I always say if you can't get in right away, to start with medical billing, because you don't have to be certified in order to be a medical biller. There is another company out there which I will not mention because if you've taken any time to do research and study, you know which one I'm talking about. There's another company out there that offers a billing credential that no one asks for. That's why I say all the time, you do not have to be certified to be a medical biller. AAPC does have their CPB, which is fine if you want to get that. And I always say if you want to get the CPB, my thought process is if it's for people who run their own companies. Yes, sometimes there's billers that have it because that's what they do. They're billers, they bill all the time, and that's fine. But I'm just telling you guys that if you look for job listings for medical billers, a lot of them are not going to be asking for credentials. That's the reason why I say that, okay? And they will offer you training because essentially they are just processing paperwork. Their technical knowledge is not the same as a medical coder. So there's the difference right there. And I will continue to say it. And I will continue to make sure that I hope that everybody understands what I say when I say that. If you are looking to get into medical coding, you need to have AHIMA or AAPC credentials. If you can't get a job right away to be a medical coder, then try to go through medical billing, okay? And that's all I got on that one, okay? The next one is, I was thinking of doing risk adjustment. And if you don't know what risk adjustment is, this is a definition according to For the Record magazine. Risk adjustment is a process of collecting all diagnosis codes from patient charts and using illnesses along with their comorbidities and complications to determine the ICD codes which drive risk. Diagnosis codes are a good starting point for analyzing known conditions and speculating on potential risks. So that's what that is. So the question is, I was thinking of doing risk adjustment because I understand that many employers do not require experience for this position. I looked up job postings and I've seen more risk adjustment positions than coding ones. My plan is to take a billing certification and then a risk adjustment certification. So when I do my search for a job, I will have more chances. Okay, here's the deal. Everybody's path in medical coding is different, okay? And if you follow my advice, fine. If you don't, it's up to you, okay? I'm just giving you what my experience has been and what I know in the industry. If you want to go the path of being a certified professional biller and then you want to go and be a risk adjustment, that is entirely up to you. I can't tell you either way that is wrong or it's right, okay? I'm just telling you the things that I know. If you want to do that, if that's the way you want to go, then that is fine. But I will tell you that even though risk adjustment says that they don't need experience, it is a very involved position. It is understanding the pathology. It is understanding the diagnoses. And I've gotten emails from many risk adjustment coders asking very detailed questions because they don't know. And if you're a coder, you're going to understand this. But if you haven't had experience and you're trying to do risk adjustment, it's going to feel like a lost process because you're not really going to truly understand what it is that you're doing. You should, in my opinion, have some experience in coding before you try to do risk adjustment. But the industry, I guess the people that are asking for those or the listings that this person saw weren't asking for experience. But that's just my thought process on that one. There is lots of jobs out there for medical coders. I've never seen where it's weighing more than the other one. But I see a variety of positions all the time. So it just depends on, I guess, where you're looking. But if you want to do that, if that is your goal to do that, then go ahead. I mean, like I said, I can't tell you right or wrong which way you should be. But my whole thought process when I say that about not having to be certified is because there is another company out there that is trying to push their credential and no one is asking for it. So that's why I want to make that clear. And plus, a lot of billing companies will train you. So that's what I'm going to say on that one. Okay, next question. If I take, where do we go? Come on, let's be friends. If I take risk adjustment with AAPC and then CCS with AHIMA, will I need to be a member of both associations? AAPC is the only association that requires that you be a member of their association before sitting for their credential exam. With AHIMA, they do not have this requirement. They have a separate price for people who want to take their exams for members and non-members. So that's that on that one. Next one is, does the association you get your certification from affect the type of healthcare business that you will be able to work for? In other words, can you work in a doctor's office as well as a hospital, no matter what association you went to, AAPC or AHIMA? So employers are looking for certified coders, okay? They need to know what your certification is. Whether you go through AAPC or you go through AHIMA, it really doesn't have any bearing. It's just going to depend on what they're looking for. What credential are they looking for? But no, it doesn't have any bearing on the fact that you can work for a hospital or you can work for a doctor's office. It doesn't. No. The type of credential that you have will play a factor, but not the association that you are credentialed through. Okay. Next one. I'm studying ICD-10, and I noticed that the code in the book and the code in Google are not the same. For example, L89, although it's a pressure ulcer, but different areas. So when you are looking up things on the internet, you need to first look at your reputable resource, which your reputable resource will be the book. Okay. If you decide to go online to try to look for another code, or perhaps you can't really find it in the book and you want to see what the internet has to say, look very carefully at who is giving out this information. Because these topics live on in perpetuity, it's really, you have no idea, unless you're looking at the date, if these codes are even valid or who is actually putting out this information. Because we can't take information from Sue, Jane, and Sally, or he said, she said. We have to take it from a reputable resource. So if your code does not match what is in Google, then you need to look to verify and make sure that what you have selected is actually, you know, what you're looking for. Because if you're going to the internet trying to find like maybe another code, make sure that you are really looking and seeing if it is an actual legitimate resource. Okay, so you can do that, because I've seen some pretty hairy codes that come out when I'm looking for a code that I can't find, and I'm just like, no, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't even sound right. And it is going to depend on how you put in the information into the internet as well. How are you asking the question, which is sort of whatever results is going to pop up. So that's my answer on that one, but always trust the book. Okay. The next one is, do HIM jobs require a word per minute typing minimum? No, not that I've seen. And word per minute is really on the bottom of the list of the things that you should be worried about. If you are in the HIM field, health information management, coding, that is really nothing compared to what you have to worry about, which is anatomy, physiology, medical terminology, understanding the coding guidelines, understanding the procedure coding guidelines, and understanding that. You really, because we do some typing, but it's not like how like secretaries have to have a word per minute. We're not processing paperwork, okay? We are processing, like we are looking at documentation, and we are taking the codes and the diagnoses and the procedures that happened in this visit, and we are putting it into, you know, the system, you know, for statistical purposes and for billing. So that's what we're doing. And a lot of times you are using an encoder, and you only have to type in a couple of letters and the code usually pops up. So, or it'll get you on the path to getting the code. But it's not like where we have to process paperwork and you have to, you know, have a word per minute. No, that's really, in the grand scheme of things, that's really not something to be worried about. Okay. The next one is, I heard nurses, doctors, etc. who worked in the medical field now need to take their state tests every few years. Does HIM require this too? Well, here's the thing. We don't have state tests. Okay. There's no state boards or anything like that for medical coding. We have the association exams. Okay. And you take that when you are getting credentialed, when you are sitting for your credential exam, okay? That is when you take that. The only time that you are going to be tested is when you are trying to take another certification exam, okay? The only time that we all had to go through testing again was when we transitioned from ICD-9 to ICD-10. Clearly, if you are a new generation medical coder, you do not have to worry about ICD-9. We are all in ICD-10. So you are basically just getting your credential until we transition over to ICD-11, which I don't know. You know what I mean? So I don't know when that's going to come out. So, but yeah, that's the only time that we've had to redo. But yeah, there's no state boards. You know, it is just through the associations themselves when we take our credential exams. Okay. And then the next one is, When I go for an interview and they ask me, when can I start, and I'm unemployed, what is the best way to answer? I am unemployed right now. I am available as soon as possible. That's what you tell them, because there is no reason to be shy or to play games, okay? You are there, you're excited, you want to work. That's what they're looking for, because they're not going to want somebody that's going to sit there and interview with them who's trying to play games. I've known some people that were like that, and guess what? They don't get hired because they're not going to chase you, okay? You're there and they're there and you're there for business, okay? So it's not a game. It's not, well, you know, oh, they want me, let me make them chase me. No. You want a job, you're unemployed, then let's go. If they ask you, oh, that's a good sign, right? If they ask you, hey, when can you start? As soon as possible. The more enthusiasm you show, the more, okay, they're going to say, okay, this person's going to be really engaged. This is what we want. Not somebody that's going to be, oh, laid back and, oh, well, you know. No, you want to be as certain as possible. You want to show that you are very sure of yourself, okay? You're there for business. You want the job, then go for it, you know, and you have to show that enthusiasm, because that's what they're looking for. At least if I was hiring, that's what I would be looking for. If somebody was to be milly-mally, nope, next, because there's 50 to 100 other people that's vying to get the position that you want, okay? So if you're there, you're ready, then let's go. Let's do this. You know, that would be my attitude, because I know that if an employer gets me as an employee, that they have a very valuable resource. Now, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I know this. I am a hard worker. I study. I look up and I continue to push forward, and I try to make sure that everything is covered and very detailed. That's what makes me valuable. And I know I go above and beyond, and I know I go that extra mile. So there's a difference there between me and other people. Sometimes people just want to collect a check and go home, and I have never ever been that way. That's not my deal. I've never been like that. You know, so for me, I know that energy that I'm going to be putting out is, let's get this and let's get this done. And you know, let's learn more in the process, because the more you learn and the more that you talk to your providers and the more that they talk to you, the better communication is, the better the documentation comes out, period. So that's just what I'm saying on that one. That's my thoughts. So, but yeah, if you're as excited to be there and you want to be there, let them know. That's just my answer on that one. And finally tonight, I'm going to address something. Okay, so I've been getting lots of emails from foreign coders asking me where to get a job in the US and what do they need to learn and what do they need to know. Okay, here's the deal. If you are from overseas and you ask me this question, I'm going to tell you the same thing that I tell everybody that says the same thing. As easily as you asked me that question, you can go and do your research. I am not a staffing agency, so if you send me your resume, it will end up in the trash, because I don't look at resumes. I don't click on attachments, okay? I know better than that, all right? That's number one. Number two, you really do have to understand what you're reading and how these words are coming across on this documentation. And when I see that you're writing to me and the English is very broken, that doesn't instill a lot of confidence that you're going to understand what's going on in the documentation. This isn't processing paperwork. This is actually looking at the documentation and understanding it. When people who speak English have a hard enough time understanding the documentation as it is, I can't imagine somebody who has a language barrier that it would be much easier for you, okay? So my advice is, if you want to know, you want to learn or whatever, you need to do the research on your own. Please do not ask me, because there is nothing that I can do for you. I am a medical coder. I share the things that I know. I talk about the coding field. That is what I do. But when it comes to trying to get people jobs and telling them where to go, I have 100 videos, the least that I talk about, because I know I'm over 300 videos now. I have tons of videos that I talk about how to get in, what to do, what you have to know. Okay, so please don't ask me. Go to the videos. Okay, so that's all I'm going to talk about tonight. And I hope you'll take a second and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already hit the subscribe button. And I hope you'll consider supporting me on Patreon. And I will see you all again tomorrow for tomorrow's exciting episode. And so I will wrap this one up. So if you are a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all next time. Bye.